Caleb Warren arrived at the Harbor Crest Hotel the way he arrived everywhere important. Early, prepared, and trying not to look like he was trying too hard. He'd been on the road since dawn, 2 flights, 1 delayed shuttle, and a final rideshare that crawled through downtown traffic like the city was testing his patience on purpose. By the time the car pulled up to the Harbor Crest's wide glass doors, Caleb's shoulders felt welded tight from keeping his posture calm for hours. The hotel looked like money in the quiet way. Polished stone entrance, warm lighting spilling onto the sidewalk, a doorman in a navy coat opening doors with the kind of effortless politeness that didn't include everyone equally. Caleb stepped out with 1 carry-on and a garment bag. He wore a dark jacket over a simple shirt, clean sneakers, no logos, nothing that would invite assumptions. He'd learned that sometimes the safest outfit in white spaces was the one that didn't make anyone feel challenged. Still, he could feel eyes on him as he walked in. The lobby smelled like citrus and expensive soap. A chandelier hung above a marble floor, so glossy it reflected the silhouettes of guests like a second world under their feet. People moved through the space quietly, white couples in tailored coats, a white businessman speaking into an AirPod like the lobby was his office, a family with matching luggage sets. A pianist played something soft in the corner, music that made everything feel controlled. Caleb approached the front desk. Behind it stood 2 employees. One was a young white man typing quickly, barely looking up. The other was a white woman in her 30s, with hair pulled into a sleek twist and a name tag that read, Emma, front desk supervisor. Emma lifted her eyes and smiled, thin, practiced, the kind of smile that didn't reach the corners. "Good evening," Emma said. "Welcome to the Harbor Crest. How can I help you?" Caleb returned a polite smile. "Hi, checking in. Reservation under Caleb Warren." Emma's fingers moved across the keyboard. "Great. 1 moment." Caleb rested his hand lightly on the counter edge and waited. He didn't sigh. He didn't look tired, even though he was. He kept his face neutral because he'd learned that fatigue could be misread as attitude. Emma's eyes flicked across her screen, then tightened. She typed again, slower. Then she said, in a tone that sounded almost cheerful in how final it was, "I'm not seeing anything under that name." Caleb blinked once. "Okay, it might be under my company, Warren Consulting." Emma typed again. Her smile didn't change. "No," she said. "Nothing." Caleb's stomach dipped, small, cold. "I booked it through your website. I have a confirmation email." Emma lifted her brows slightly, as if Caleb had just said something naive. "Are you sure you booked this property? We have sister hotels in the area." Caleb kept his voice calm. "Yes, the Harbor Crest on Bay Street." Emma's eyes stayed on him a second too long, then returned to the screen. "We have nothing." Behind Caleb, a white couple stepped into line. The man glanced at Caleb's garment bag, then away, like the glance wasn't a decision. Caleb reached into his jacket pocket slowly and pulled out his phone. He had the email saved in a folder labeled Travel, Confirmations. He didn't fumble. He didn't rush. He didn't want to look nervous. He opened the email and held it out. "Here, confirmation number is..." He read it clearly. HC-7K19R. Emma didn't take the phone. She didn't even lean forward to read it properly. She said, "We can't verify from your phone. People show fake confirmations all the time." Caleb felt heat rise behind his ribs. He kept it from reaching his face. "It's not fake," Caleb said evenly. "It's from your domain. It has the reservation details, dates, room type, and the last 4 digits of the card." Emma's mouth tightened. "Sir, I'm telling you I don't have a reservation for you." Caleb held her gaze. "Then search the confirmation code." Emma's eyes narrowed slightly. "I already searched your name." Caleb's voice stayed calm. Search the code. Emma paused, as if she didn't like being directed. The young white clerk beside her glanced over, curious now. Emma's fingers tapped again, a little harder. She typed the code. For a moment, she stared at the screen. Then she typed it again, as if the first result offended her. Caleb watched her face for any sign, confusion, realization, anything human. But Emma's expression stayed controlled. No, she said. Not coming up. Caleb's jaw tightened. That doesn't make sense. Emma's tone sharpened, still polite but edged. It makes perfect sense if you didn't complete the booking. Caleb stared at her. My card was charged. Emma blinked. Charged by who? By Harbor Crest Hotel, Caleb said. Pending charge, same amount as the reservation total. Emma leaned back slightly in her chair, creating distance. A pending charge doesn't mean you have a reservation. It means an authorization was attempted. Caleb exhaled slowly through his nose. He could feel the couple behind him listening now. He could feel the pressure of the lobby, how quickly a calm disagreement could turn into a public scene if he let his tone slip. He refused. Okay, Caleb said, voice steady. What's your process when a guest has a confirmation number, but it doesn't appear under their name? Emma's eyes hardened. If it's not in the system, we can't check you in. Caleb nodded once. So your solution is that I have nowhere to sleep tonight? Emma gave a small shrug. We're close to sold out. Caleb's stomach tightened again. Close to sold out doesn't mean sold out. Emma's smile returned, thin. Sir, do you have another hotel in mind? I can give you directions. There it was, the push out the door, wrapped in helpfulness. Caleb looked at the desk, then at the lobby behind Emma. Polished wood, quiet luxury, a framed photo of the city skyline. A place that was built to make some people feel safe and others feel watched. He kept his voice low and controlled. I want you to try the confirmation code again, and I want you to check if it's under a different spelling or if it's stuck in pending arrival. Emma's eyes narrowed. You're holding up the line. Caleb glanced behind him. The white couple was still there, arms folded, watching like this was entertainment. Caleb turned back to Emma. I stepped forward when you called me. I'm here to check in. This is your job. Emma's cheeks flushed faintly. Sir. Caleb didn't raise his voice. He didn't move closer. He simply said, very clearly, I need a manager. Emma's lips pressed tight. I'm the supervisor. Caleb nodded. Then I need the manager. Emma stared at him, and for a second Caleb saw the calculation in her eyes. Is he going to be a problem? Is he going to make noise? Caleb didn't make noise. He waited, calm, refusing to be rushed into either apology or anger. Emma finally turned slightly and spoke to the young clerk. Josh, can you page Mr. Alden? Josh hesitated, then nodded and walked away. Emma looked back at Caleb, her smile gone now. Just so you're aware, if you don't have a valid reservation, we may not be able to accommodate you tonight. Caleb held her gaze. I have a valid reservation. Your system is failing to display it. Emma's eyes hardened. That's your opinion. Caleb's voice stayed calm. It's a fact supported by your confirmation number and your charge. Emma didn't respond. They stood in a tense quiet while the lobby moved around them, guests laughing softly near the bar, wheels rolling across marble, the pianist's gentle notes continuing as if conflict was just background noise. A minute later, a door behind the desk opened and a white man in a suit stepped out. Mid-40s, confident posture, the kind of confidence that came from being able to end interactions with a sentence. His name tag read, Mr. Alden, Guest Services Manager. Alden looked at Emma first. What's going on? Emma spoke quickly, controlling the narrative. Guest says he has a reservation, but there's nothing under his name. He's insisting. Alden turned his attention to Caleb. His eyes flicked over Caleb. Carry on, garment bag, calm posture, as if he was deciding what kind of guest Caleb was. Caleb met his gaze and spoke before Alden could settle into assumptions. "Good evening," Caleb said, voice controlled. "I booked a room here for tonight. Reservation under Caleb Warren. I have a confirmation email and code, HC-7K19R. My card shows a pending charge for the reservation amount. The desk says there's no reservation and won't verify the confirmation code properly." Alden's expression shifted slightly at the specificity. He held out a hand. "Let me see the code." Caleb read it again, slow and clear. Alden leaned over the keyboard and typed it himself. Emma's posture stiffened. Alden stared at the screen. Then he frowned. Caleb's pulse jumped, but he kept his face neutral. "What do you see?" Alden clicked into another tab, typed again, then paused. Emma said too quickly, "See? Nothing." Alden didn't look at her. He clicked again. Then he said, quietly, "It's here." Caleb felt a tight release in his chest. Alden continued, "It's under a slightly different profile. Looks like the system created a duplicate guest record." He glanced at Emma. "That's why name search didn't hit, but the confirmation code pulls it." Emma's face flushed, and her mouth tightened like she'd bitten something sour. Alden looked back at Caleb. "Mr. Warren, I apologize. The reservation exists. One moment." Caleb's voice stayed calm. "Thank you." Alden typed again. "We'll get you checked in." Emma sat very still, eyes on her screen, expression rigid. The couple behind Caleb shifted, suddenly less interested now that the outcome wasn't he got turned away. Caleb watched Alden's hands move and felt a new kind of anger rise, not explosive but sharp. Because the reservation had been there the whole time, the no had been a choice made easy by the assumption that Caleb wouldn't push, wouldn't know what to ask for, wouldn't insist on the code. Alden printed something, then said, "Okay, room 912, we've got you." Caleb nodded and accepted the key cards Alden slid forward. Alden added, in a tone that tried to smooth everything, "Again, sorry for the inconvenience." Caleb held his gaze. "I'd like a printed receipt showing my reservation number and that I checked in." Alden paused, then nodded. "Of course." As Alden printed the receipt, Caleb looked at Emma, not to provoke her, but because he wanted her to feel the weight of what had just happened. Emma avoided his eyes. Alden handed Caleb the receipt. Caleb took it carefully and slid it into his folder. Then, before turning away, Caleb said quietly, calm, controlled, unmistakable, "Next time someone comes in with a confirmation code, you should search the code first." Emma's cheeks flushed deeper. She didn't answer. Caleb turned and walked toward the elevators, shoulders still tight but head high. He didn't feel triumphant. He felt tired. Because he knew how close he'd been to being pushed out the door with directions to another hotel, how close his night had been to being ruined by someone else's refusal to look properly. And he knew something else too. If Alden hadn't come out, if Caleb hadn't stayed calm, insisted, demanded the right search, his reservation would have not existed all night. But it did exist. The confirmation code matched the system, and Caleb had forced the truth to appear, right there in the lobby where they'd tried to erase it. The elevator doors closed behind Caleb with a soft, expensive hush. For the first time in 10 minutes, he could breathe without feeling the lobby's eyes on him. He stared at his reflection in the mirrored wall, jaw set, shoulders high, the kind of posture you hold when you're trying not to become a headline inside someone else's story. His hands were steady, but he could still feel adrenaline buzzing under his skin, like his body hadn't gotten the memo that the crisis was resolved. When the elevator chimed on the 9th floor, Caleb stepped out and followed the hallway's muted carpet and warm wall lamps to room 912. He swiped the keycard. Green. The lock clicked open. The room was quiet and cool, curtains half drawn over a city view. A queen bed with crisp white sheets, a desk with a sleek lamp, a bottle of water on a tray like hospitality was a performance. Caleb set his bag down and stood still for a moment. He should have felt relief. Instead, what he felt was a hard, simmering anger. Not because the system had made a mistake. Systems made mistakes. But because Emma hadn't treated it like a mistake she wanted to solve. She treated it like a reason to send him away. And the difference between those two approaches wasn't technical. It was personal. Caleb pulled out the printed receipt Alden had given him and laid it on the desk. He opened his laptop, then paused, staring at the paper. He'd learned something important over the years. If you didn't document the moment you were almost denied, it would become a story you couldn't prove later. And people loved to rewrite those stories into something neat. He was confused. He booked the wrong place. He didn't complete the reservation. Caleb opened his email and wrote a message to himself with the subject line: Harbor Crest check-in issue. Confirmation code required. In the body, he wrote a short timeline, clean and factual. Arrived approximately 8:42 p.m. Front desk supervisor said, no reservation. Refused to verify confirmation code. Stated phone confirmations can be fake. Manager searched confirmation code. Found duplicate profile and reservation, checked in successfully. Then he attached a photo of the printed receipt. He hit send. Not because he wanted drama, because he wanted power. 20 minutes later, Caleb was in the shower trying to let the day wash off when his phone buzzed on the bathroom counter. He ignored it at first. Then it buzzed again. He stepped out, towel around his waist, and saw the caller, ID Harbor Crest Hotel. His stomach tightened again. He answered. Hello? Alden's voice came through, smoother now. Mr. Warren, this is Alden. Just wanted to confirm you're settled in, okay? Caleb's eyes narrowed slightly. I'm in the room, yes. Alden chuckled lightly, the sound of someone trying to turn something serious into a minor inconvenience. Great. Again, apologies for the confusion downstairs. We've noted it for the team. Caleb leaned against the counter, calm but not softened. I'd like to understand what happened. Alden paused. As I mentioned, the system created a duplicate profile. It's rare, but it happens. Caleb said evenly, but the confirmation code pulled it immediately. Alden hesitated. Yes. Caleb continued, voice controlled. So the issue wasn't that the reservation didn't exist. The issue was that the desk refused to search the code until you came out. Alden's silence was a little too long. Then he said, Emma followed standard procedure. Caleb let out a slow breath, more controlled than it could have been. Standard procedure includes searching the confirmation code. You did it. It worked. Alden's tone tightened slightly. Mr. Warren, we don't want to dwell on a misunderstanding. Caleb's voice lowered. It wasn't a misunderstanding. I was told my reservation didn't exist and that I might not be accommodated, despite having valid confirmation. Alden tried to keep it smooth. Sometimes guests come in with third-party bookings that look like ours but aren't, Caleb cut in, calm and sharp. I booked through your website. Alden paused again. Caleb continued, choosing words carefully. I travel for work a lot. I know what confirmation looks like. I also know what it feels like to be treated like a problem when I'm simply trying to check in. Alden cleared his throat. We want all guests to feel welcome. Caleb didn't raise his voice. Then your staff has to stop assuming a guest is lying when the system is the one that's messy. Alden's breath was audible, a controlled inhale. I understand. Would you like a drink voucher? Breakfast credit? There it was, the offer to buy silence. Caleb stared at the wall for a beat, then answered calmly. I want written confirmation that my reservation was valid upon arrival, and that I checked in on time. And I want the note that there was a duplicate profile issue. Alden paused. We can send a confirmation email. Please do, Caleb said. Tonight. Alden's tone became more formal. All right, I'll have that sent. Caleb nodded, even though Alden couldn't see it. Thank you. They ended the call. Caleb stood there for a moment, towel still around his waist, listening to the room's silence. He knew what that call was. Damage control. Because in a hotel like Harborcrest, the worst thing wasn't upsetting a guest. It was upsetting the wrong kind of guest in a way that could become a review, a complaint, a pattern. Caleb wasn't planning to write some dramatic post, but he wasn't going to let the moment be erased either. At 9:41 p.m., an email arrived. From Harborcrest Guest Services. Subject, confirmation of check-in, reservation HC7K19R. Caleb opened it. The message was brief and polished. Dear Mr. Warren, this email confirms that your reservation, confirmation code HC-7K19R, was active and valid for arrival today, and that you successfully checked in at 8:57 p.m. Your reservation was initially associated with a duplicate guest profile, which has now been merged for accuracy. We apologize for any inconvenience and appreciate your patience. Alden, Guest Services Manager. Caleb read it twice. Then he saved it to his travel folder. Then he forwarded it to himself again, just in case. He sat on the edge of the bed and let the day's tension finally loosen in his shoulders. He could have stopped there. Most people would. But Caleb couldn't shake the way Emma had looked at him when she said, people show fake confirmations all the time. Not, sometimes the system glitches. Not, let's check another way. Just suspicion, delivered like policy. Caleb opened his notes app and wrote down Emma's name and title from the badge. He didn't plan to get her fired. He wasn't interested in revenge. He was interested in accountability. Because if Emma treated him like that, she treated other people like that too. People who might not have the energy to insist. People who might believe her and leave. People who might end up sleeping in their car because a hotel decided their confirmation wasn't worth checking. Caleb stared at the city lights outside his window and felt something steady settle in him. He hadn't won anything. He'd simply refused to be erased. And the proof, confirmation code, receipt, manager email, was now locked into more than one place. So the next time someone tried to say, "You're not on the list," Caleb would have what mattered most in places built on quiet power: the record. The record that said he was there the whole time.